Hey guys, Crypto Sunday, and the portfolio's back. It seems to have healed itself. I've done nothing to it, which is good. And yeah, we're down £1,000, sort of 0 point something percent. Very, very sort of quiet week on the whole. Sort of been a little bit down and sort of down during the week and back up again. And sort of it's mainly altcoins. Bitcoin's up a little, but yeah, not a lot to see here. Still sort of waiting on some sort of catalyst. Looking at the CoinShares report, it was relatively positive. We had 4.37 billion in total inflows for August, but 2.48 billion last week, which is rather surprising. Well, yeah, this is the previous week, obviously, as is always the way. 748 million into Bitcoin and 1.4 billion into Ethereum. So continuing that double of Ethereum over Bitcoin. It's sort of got the limelight at the moment. Solana at 177 million, which is very, very strong considering sort of AUM. That's what, 6% of AUM, where Bitcoin and Ethereum get nothing like that. And XRP with sort of similar numbers, really, 6% of AUM, 134 million. SUI, 5.8 million outflow, and so that's an increasing outflow. They've had 10.4 million in total. Doesn't seem to be a whole lot happening on that. It's sort of always been called the Solana killer. I never like the term killers because, it's very unlikely that you would sort of completely topple an asset, but people like the term killer, I would say competitor. 5.2 million into Cardano as well. A little bit of a surprise, quite a large number. I don't think there's that many Cardano ETFs. And 3.6 into Chainlink, which is pretty good. Minus 2.7 out of others as well. Looking at by country, it's sort of fairly green across the board. Quite a large outflow from Sweden, but yeah, 109 million into Switzerland and 70 into Germany and 40 into Canada, and then some sort of smaller inflows elsewhere. So the US, obviously the vast majority of it, but yeah, some big numbers from Europe and elsewhere. Looking at the most recent data, Bitcoin side has been very, very up and down. I think that's a net positive for the week. We had a bank holiday in America on Monday, so it's a 4-day week. We've got 300 million inflow days, and then 2 outflow days, slightly smaller, 222 and 160. Still mostly inflows into BlackRock, except Friday. And yeah, Friday was sort of no inflows at all, even across the smaller ones. Outflows out of Grayscale, and yeah, some reasonable outflows out of Fidelity, and sort of more so ARK Invest. Again, the emotional investors. They've got 2 billion in inflows since the beginning, compared to, obviously the big boys, and they're getting 125 million out in one day. So, yeah, people not all that keen on ARK's ETF. And looking at Ethereum, it's been considerably worse. So that little run of Ethereum outperforming Bitcoin on the ETFs has completely come to a halt, it seems. We had 4 days straight of outflows, sorry. Had a few scattered inflows, one into BlackRock and a couple sort of into Fidelity and Bitwise, but it was all overshadowed by outflows overall. 135, 38 overall, 167, and then Friday, 446 million in outflows. So yeah, that's quite chunky. And just checking in on Solana, still just the one small ETF, but quite surprising. No outflows for that. Just a couple of 0 days and then a couple of small inflows, but yeah, still seems to be doing well, even with a high fee. I'm sure once some others get approved, they may have to drop that fee, or they might sort of do a grayscale and just sit there with it. Looking at the treasury companies, we got a post from Michael Saylor, of course. We got Metaplanet bought 1,009 Bitcoin, sort of to get them to a very round 20,000 exactly. They do seem to like the the round numbers and the sort of key numbers, so that's up to them. Lots of AI pictures of Michael Saylor, as always. But Strategy bought 4,048. I forgot Monday was the bank holiday, and I sort of thought, oh, he's not tweeted, but yeah, they did Tuesday. So yeah, 110.9 million. Sorry, 110,981 average, and yeah, that brings their total average to 73,765. Still sort of creeping up. So obviously does a lot more when they make larger purchases. They sort of bought whether it was 21,000 Bitcoin a few weeks back, and it's sort of their average spiked up quite a bit. And they've increased their STRC dividend rate from 9% to 10%. So whether they're sort of trying to attract more investors, I don't know, but that's certainly an increase, and all that means is they have to pay out more to dividend holders, and it seems like sell the common stock, MicroStrategy stock, to fund that. So it's not a stock I would want to hold sort of longer term. Other companies, got H100, the small little European one, bought 47 Bitcoin. Nice ad for Real Madrid. And yeah, not a huge amount else. Michael Saylor running a marathon, of course. Why not? Yeah, I think that is about it. So it's been a bit of a Trump week, in case you haven't noticed. They have merged a couple of miners from the looks of it. American Bitcoin Corp has sort of people are calling it an IPO. It's not really an IPO because if you go back, they are actually, it looks like Griffin Mining, and they've sort of merged Griffin Mining with Hut 8 Corp, and yeah, they're basically sort of now calling that American Bitcoin, and that sort of launched earlier in the week to amazing fanfare, and it was sort of up on the day, and then very, very quickly fell back down, and I think it ended up on the day, but has since sort of drifted off a reasonable amount, and is sort of pretty much at the point, well, maybe sort of 8 to 10% below where it started out at. People sort of realizing that if you combine, I think Hut 8's Bitcoin stack and the sort of exahash that they have running, it's not really all that much, and is sort of quite poor value to where they are compared to, if you're interested in sort of just the Bitcoin side, probably someone like CleanSpark would be a reasonable comparison. I think similar Bitcoin holding and much more exahash for a cheaper market cap. And I don't think American Bitcoin have a lot in the way of AI, HPC stuff. So yeah, there's no sort of comparison really to someone like herein. So yeah, it seemed a little bit overpriced. Possibly was sucking money out of other miners. Whether people are sort of selling someone like CleanSpark to buy this just because it's Trump backed. I know people sort of go for that sort of thing. Seems a little bit crazy to me, but yeah, don't always have to buy on fundamentals, it seems, some people. That was in the stock world, and in the crypto world, you've had World Liberty Financial launch their token WLFI, and it's sort of somewhat similar, really. Basically a sort of coin IPO. It sort of rocketed up to 32 cents. I think it went higher than that, sort of in the intraday sort of 1 minute chart, and very, very quickly came back down. I think there was a lot of shenanigans called out with sort of lock tokens, and the supply was a hell of a lot more than people were initially expecting, and it sort of very quickly got dumped off the following few days, but has since come back, to be fair, and it is 23 cents. So from the looks of it, is actually up on the launch price. So if you hold a few days, then you're even. But yeah, it's not really something I would look to be holding. I don't really want to hold anything directly tied to Trump or the Trump family. But yeah, everyone sort of seemed to be interested in this. Obviously, it's basically the biggest launch of the week, and yes, I just thought it was funny to see it almost a very, very similar chart to American Bitcoin, both launches in a week. Here's a face we'd not seen for a little while. Gary Gensler is sort of in the news after the SEC watchdog, the sort of secret police inside the SEC, done an investigation, and they've said phone messages between October 22 and September 23 have been lost due to avoidable errors by their IT department. I would call that essentially a planned wipe, but maybe that's just conspiracy. There were sort of a lot of suspect decisions going on in that time, and yeah, maybe they, just wanted to get rid of these texts. It looks like, to be fair, I mean, this is the SEC investigating themselves, so you kind of thought they might want to cover it up a little bit, but no, they are digging up some stuff. Around 38% of the recovered text conversations, they've recovered about 1,500 messages, sort of from getting them from the other side. Basically, he's texting someone, and they've sort of recovered those. Were mission-related concerning matters directly involving SEC senior staff. So yeah, a little bit poor, really. It's another example of sort of my two worlds, or maybe more than two worlds, colliding somewhat. Tether holding talks to invest across the gold supply chain. So interesting, they already hold $8.7 billion of physical gold, and they have a gold-backed crypto with a 1.4 billion market cap. So sort of holding gold to back that crypto, which, yeah, Tether Gold. Didn't even realise that had got quite so big. But they seem to like gold sort of almost as much as they like Bitcoin. They want to sort of broaden their risk profile. They do stress very strongly that these investments are not backing the actual Tether. This is from profit. They have dollars and treasuries obviously backing the Tether to keep it sort of quick access. 80% of it is held in cash equivalents, short-term deposits, and other things. 127 billion in direct US Treasury exposure, but they are making an awful lot of profit. They showed their attestation, which we'll sort of come to, and they want to put their profit into some of it into gold miners. It's looking like. They're saying sort of across the industry, so royalty companies, refining, gold mining directly. And yeah, I think this would be quite interesting. I didn't realise they already do own a little bit of royalties. They have 100 million, or they increased their stake in Elemental, a gold royalty company. They already own 37.8% of the company, and they made another 100 million share purchase. So interesting. Just looking at Tether's little quarterly report. This was sort of obviously a few weeks ago. I didn't really take a huge look because it is sort of only Tether. But they've, in the last quarter, in Q2, issued 20 billion worth of new Tether, and gone and bought a load more treasuries, of course, but that is generating an awful lot of money still, and they reported a net profit of $4.9 billion. So that's not 4.9 billion in cash income. That's the Bitcoin that they hold going up and the gold that they hold going up. But they did report, I think it was 3.1, yeah, TIL, which I take it is the treasury income, recurrent profits. They're saying generated 3.1 billion in recurrent profits, and mark-to-market contributions from gold and Bitcoin added another $2.6 billion. So, yeah, very, very strong, of course. Looking at the Bitcoin difficulty, we're getting sort of similar spikes up in hash rate. We're at 1.15 zettahash of hash rate currently, which is unusual for a Sunday. To be honest, I don't think we've seen that all that much before. It sort of did reach a new high, I think that is, of 1.25. So incredibly high numbers, and yeah, this has caused the. I was kind of hoping we were getting a, maybe a little drop in hash rate into the difficulty adjustment, but we didn't. So it rocketed up from 129.7 to 100, just over 136. That is very, very harsh for the miners, especially sort of high cost miners, people like Hive, and yeah, can see why they're sort of not getting a huge amount of love at the moment. Bitcoin not really going up, and difficulty rocketing up due to more hash rate being put online. You've still got other sort of public miners increasing, private, sort of private companies increasing mining, and countries mining. Sovereign governments with sort of free electricity deciding to put that to use. So, yeah, for people like Hive, it is a struggle, and you've seen sort of difficulty over the last year just continue to trickle up. And yeah, this last one this week has been quite the hit. We are actually running, because it's now gone up to 1.15 zettahash. It's pretty much on time. This was sort of running a little bit slow the last couple of days, and we're sort of projecting a reasonable drop in difficulty, but it is now saying down 0.83%. This will change a great deal over the next couple of weeks. They're projecting sort of now a week Friday, September the 19th, for the next update, and not a huge amount of change, but got a long way to go, 12 days, but it does look like there is a lot of mining on tap. And looking at the liquidity chart, continuing to suspect possibly that this is breaking down in correlation somewhat. The gap is bigger than it's ever been. You look at this sort of crocodile jaws pattern here. We have had sort of periods of, correlation breaking down a little bit. You sort of had a relatively big gap there, but this is by far the biggest gap now. The sort of implied Bitcoin price based on sort of if it was following the chart 1-to-1 would now be $160,000, and yeah, we're not certainly not there. Doesn't look like we're going there, anytime soon, in the near future at least, unless it suddenly spikes up. And there is sort of in about 2 weeks, there is another spike up to sort of 180,000 in implied price. So yeah, we'll have to see if this suddenly sort of breaks out. But I would say this sort of correlation is breaking down a little bit. Before 2024, it was never nearly anywhere near this strong. I sort of put this tighter correlation down to the ETFs, and maybe that was it for for a little while, but yeah, it certainly doesn't seem to be at the moment. And sort of the more recent liquidity has been sort of grinding up, I suppose, reaching slightly new highs. I think the new high was sort of a week or two ago, and it's now sort of popped up to similar levels. Sort of, again, implied price of about 184, but if we sort of were to rocket up in the next few weeks, certainly, I think I would be sort of taking a hell of a lot off the table, because liquidity isn't sort of indicating anything particularly good happening sort of after that. So we'll see. But yeah, doesn't look great on the chart certainly. And looking at coins for the week, we've gone up to 453, so I will call that flat for the week. And yeah, looking at Bitcoin up 2.32%, so that has shielded me from some of the losses elsewhere. Solana is pretty much flat as a pancake. Ethereum down 3.19%, Chainlink down 5.4%. So Ethereum sort of ecosystem not doing all that well. The Solana ecosystem has sort of underperformed Solana itself. Radium down 6.2%, Gito down 6.3%. Metaplex though up 26% for the week. I've not seen any sort of particular news on that. It's a fairly small coin, so it doesn't take a huge amount to move that, and they are doing buybacks still as well, I believe. So yeah, that was a reasonably good week. Helium underperformer for the week, actually joint with Honey Token, both down 13%. So yeah, Honey now at sort of 500 quid. It's really looking like a failure, that one, but it wasn't a massive position, sort of £2,000. Yeah, looking like it's very much largely gone. But there you go. That's crypto. So leave your thoughts in the comments below. Let me know how you guys are doing, bearing up under this sideways action, and like and subscribe. See you soon.